I mean, let's just get straight into it, shall we, Smithy? First of all, how was your Magic round? And then second of all, Brad Arthur gone from the Eels. Wow.
Mate, he's gone.
Holy.
Gone. Bit of a shock to a lot of people. Well, given that, we're sort of, 1 week away from Mitch Moses being back, and Gutho's hopefully going to be back in the near future. So I think a lot of people are thinking, well, let's just wait till he gets back. Those boys get back and see how they travel. But no, gone. Trent Barrett's going to take over from the coaching role for the rest of this season. But no, Magic Round was great, mate. I worked Saturday night and then into the Sunday afternoon. And, yeah, what a great weekend it was. It just seems to get bigger and bigger every year, doesn't it?
Oh, mate, the best.
And it's so good that the NRL have signed on for a further 3 years with Queensland government. It just... look, no disrespect to all the other major cities in our country, but I just don't know if they could turn it on the way Brisbane does. Like that whole precinct, mate. So let's just start with the stadium. It's the best rugby league stadium in the world for both players and fans, to watch those games. And then you've got that whole precinct of Caxton Street that's just walking distance, all the pubs, bars. I think you stepped inside a couple of those establishments throughout the weekend where I seen some live shows being done, which was great for you guys. But yeah, there's nowhere else they can do it. So really happy that it's signed on. And I was speaking to a few NRL officials at a function on the Thursday morning, and they said, look, we're actually looking to make Magic Weekend even bigger than what it's been in the previous couple. So hold on to your hats, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, could you imagine even bigger? You're kidding. That's the best. That is music to my ears.
Yes.
Now, what isn't music to my ears is Brad Arthur. He has been let go by the Parramatta Eels. I tell you what we'll do is we'll just get some audio from Brad Arthur. We'll talk about that, and then we'll go talk about potential coaches after.
Results are important. That's what the business is driven by, and that the results weren't good enough at present. I'm sure the boys can turn it around, and I'll be watching keenly to hopefully that they do turn it around. And but like I said, I've thoroughly enjoyed my time, and I'm so grateful for the life it's presented for me and my family over the last 11 years. And I've learnt so much.
There he is, Brad Arthur, mate. I just want to say before you give your opinion on it, Smithy, Brad Arthur has handled himself with such class, and there's so much you can learn and appreciate from a guy in an incredibly, sad position in his life in regards to he loves the club. He's been there forever, and to immediately, within hours of basically being told he's sacked, to say he's grateful. He is grateful for the life that he has. I just want to give massive credit and respect to Brad Arthur. I think he's handled it with such class. It's just been so impressive.
Yeah, good on BA. He actually gave that an interview the morning after. And so he was asked to come into the meeting at 3 p.m. I think it was, Kempy. And the morning after he did a live interview on Channel 9 and just said, look, I'm actually grateful for the opportunity that the Parramatta Footy Club gave me. Like the last 10 or 11 years have been the best 10 or 11 years of my life. I've been able to make a lot of friendships with the players that I've coached. We've done some wonderful things as a footy club. We played in a grand final, got to see his son debut in the NRL as well. So that would have been a highlight of his life, to see one of his children get to play in the NRL. Like it was a dream of his young fellas to do that. So and it was everything about that footy club. He just praised them, didn't he? I think a lot of times you could forgive coaches for being sacked, to be bitter and upset and frustrated and annoyed and all that sort of stuff. But no, he was very grateful and pretty much praised the Parramatta Football Club for the opportunity that they gave him in the first place to be their coach and for everything that club and rugby league in general has given him and his family.
Mate, it was all class. And because I think what makes it even more all class is there was genuine stuff he could have said. He could have said, maybe wait till the end of the year. I've been here for 11 years. Yeah. He could have said my key players of Moses and Gutho are out. There's other questions. Me being quite involved in the game and tracking everything from recruitment to retention to everything at the Para Eels, I do think there is a case for their recruitment board or whoever that needs to be answered. I don't think they've handled that grand final success anywhere near well enough. So there's plenty of areas you can point at that say that Brad Arthur didn't get the best support that he possibly could have. Now, that doesn't mean that he should have continued to have his job. But what I'm saying is there are things you could have pointed to and said, you know what, that's a fair point. But he didn't even go near that. He just said, I'm grateful. I love the club. And I think it sets him up really well for future head coaching roles. And I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see him in the NRL within the next 12 to 24 months.
Yeah, well, we know how quickly things can change, right, in the NRL, in rugby league, and particularly with head coaches. Like, all that has to happen is they fall out of form, and all of a sudden the head coach is under enormous pressure to hold his or her job, but you can understand from a club point of view. He's been coached there now for a decade, played in one grand final, played in several final series, but they come out and said that it's the results weren't good enough. We're chasing wins, and we just haven't seen enough over the past period that we're moving forward or making any progress. So I think they've chosen to bite the bullet now and just go, look, we're going to cut ties, and we're going to look to the future. And who knows who that's going to be. Like, there's already been several names tossed up to take over this role. We know Trent Barrett's going to see out the remainder of this year as an interim coach, but can it be him? Can Trent Barrett stay on as head coach? Will it be someone else coming in from outside of the football club? I know one of the representatives of Parramatta Eels have been quite vocal about how hard they chased Wayne Bennett and missing out. They spoke about how they met with Wayne on several occasions and spoke at length about what they thought they could do as a football club with him as coach, and tried to sort of make his mind up to come and join the Eels, but unfortunately they didn't get him. We know now that South have got him for 3 years, so they go back to the drawing board now and try to find the right person to take over as head coach to progress this club forward. Like, I feel they've got a good enough list at the moment, certainly to be doing a lot better than what they are managing to do right now.
Yeah, it does make it quite strange, the timing of this, given the fact that they didn't land Wayne Bennett. It seems a bit strange to go, you know what, we don't have a coach in mind. There's no real person screaming, putting their name up. To get rid of him now before he gets key players back. Now, don't get me wrong, I do understand the decision. I have never been, the last few years when Brad Arthur was under pressure, I've been like, that's nonsense. Like, that's insanity. This is a guy that's taken his team from a spoon. But I do feel this year the results did warrant his coaching to be under question. But I do, the timing of this is strange. And the only thing I can think of is if they've done it now, just in case he did turn things around. Because if let's say they didn't get rid of him. Do you know what I'm saying?
I do, mate. I do.
If Moses and Gutho come back and they turn it around, how do you sack him?
No, they can't.
They can't. And so I think they've made that decision, but it's a risky decision because, we've got some audio now, which we'll get to in a second, but there really isn't anyone screaming with their hand up that you say is ready to take over a club right now as big as the Para Eels. Here is what the Para Eels said in regards to chasing Wayne Bennett.
Well, we weren't happy, but I think it was important for everyone to know the process we went through, and I wanted people to have transparency. What I didn't want was a public debate about what we should have done or what we shouldn't have done. I wanted everybody to understand what we actually did. We wanted Wayne Bennett. It's as simple as that. And we spent the best part of 3 weeks trying to convince him to come. Ultimately, he made it clear to us that he had some unfinished business at the Rabbitohs. That's where he felt comfortable, and that's the direction he was heading. So,
did you feel close to getting Wayne Bennett?
Close is, I wouldn't say close. He was interested. Right? We put our proposition to him, and he was genuinely interested. But I think he felt strongly about his connection with the Rabbitohs, and ultimately that's where he's decided to go.
What do you reckon, Smithy? About that? I guess them basically
Yeah.
saying that they wanted Wayne Bennett.
Yeah, well, I think that was the worst kept secret in rugby league, wasn't it? That Parramatta Eels wanting Wayne Bennett, and why wouldn't you? Like they're a team that are clearly struggling at the moment to find form. They're clearly struggling to find the best, or to try and get the best out of the players in the list that they have at the moment. Even though they do have a lot of quality players in their squad. And I think Wayne Bennett's the perfect person to do that. Just have a look at what he's done with the Dolphins over the past season and a half. Like he's got a list there that a lot of people sort of had many, many question marks over and saying, well, how's this team going to be competitive? Just have a look what they've done, done in the space of a season and a half. So, there's qualities about him. And, we might touch on this a little bit later in the show, but I heard Cody Walker talking about his time with Wayne Bennett, and now that the news is broken that he is confirmed to go back to the Rabbitohs, that it's really hard to describe the effect that he does have on players, right? Unless you're in the day-to-day sort of workings with Wayne Bennett, it's hard to sort of put into words and to describe exactly how he gets the best out of people. But he has that quality. He's done it for his entire career. Wherever he's gone to, he's pretty much had great results and made positive improvements to the people around him. So you sort of, you can't blame Parramatta for going after him. And it sounds like they went after him real hard, but they just couldn't convince him that was the right place for him to go. And as was mentioned, he told Parramatta that he feels like he's got some unfinished business at the Rabbitohs, and that's the reason he went there.
Yeah, look, I'm going to be super nitpicky here. And look, the chairman of the Parra Eels has much more business experience than me. I was just like, just pretend. I appreciate his honesty, but I was like, okay, the next coach coming in now knows that like Wayne Bennett was who you wanted, and also like publicly facing, just say that you guys did have a chat, but you both didn't meet where you thought you would. I feel like, again, I'm being super nitpicky, but I was like, to be like Parramatta, I guess. From my perspective, I'm looking at it from a Parramatta. If you're putting the brand of Parra first, you're saying, Wayne should be honoured to come here. That's how highly we think of our own, brand. So look, again, I'm being nitpicky, but I was a bit surprised that he just openly said, "Yep, we wanted Wayne."
Mate, you know what? I loved it, mate.
Yeah, okay.
I actually loved it. I was like, mate, good on you for like coming out and saying, hey, look, our number one man, our number one target was Wayne Bennett, but unfortunately we missed out. It's like, I think anyone that gets this job right, like they can't feel too bad about going, well, look, I wasn't the first pick. I was the second. Like I don't think many coaches out there looking for a head coaching role I don't think they'd be too upset being second fiddle to Wayne Bennett. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's like let's say there's a team out there chasing a halfback, right? And they go, oh look, our number one target is Nathan Cleary, but we missed out, and you go there as their second choice. I don't think players would be too concerned about that, surely.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I think I'm talking from a holistic perspective. I know what you're saying. Like, it's Wayne Bennett. Of course, they were talking to him. I just think from a business perspective of taking the approach that, we had a chat to him, but we just couldn't agree on terms or something like that. It puts you in a much stronger position brand-wise than we approached Wayne.
Gotcha.
He brushed us.
Yeah. Gotcha.
But I mean, any coach coming in, unless it's like Bellamy, Robinson, or no one really has the chops to go, oh, I'm a bit offended that you went for Wayne Bennett.
Before me.
And so, look, I'm with you in regards to, I appreciate his honesty. I do appreciate the honesty for sure.
Yeah.
I was a bit surprised from a branding perspective, but that's just me, my business hat on. Now, in regards to who they can get, Smithy, who do you reckon's a front runner? Because as I said, I don't really think when you line up contracts and where certain people are, there isn't really anyone banging the door down.
No. Well, a few of the names that have been tossed up, right? It's the same old group of names. So Michael Maguire, but I don't think he's not going to coach there. He's coaching New South Wales now. I know it's like explain to us what the situation is with New South Wales Rugby League there, mate. It's like a part-time.
Yes,
contract,
okay.
Is that right?
Apparently, it's a part-time contract.
Weird.
But I mean, I tell you what, If they call Michael Maguire outside of those part-time hours and he goes, sorry, this is a part-time gig, I highly doubt they'll cop that.
How many part-time years are in the term of the contract?
So 2 years, but he's really working just for one.
Yeah, it's crazy. Okay. Yeah, no, it's really weird that. But
Very
anyway,
weird.
so he's locked out for 2 years, right? So he's not going to Para for the next couple. So you can put a line through his name unless he gives up the New South Wales job, which I don't think he'd do. Right? That's a job that a lot of people would love to have. So I don't think he's going to give that up, and he's committed to it now. So we know he's going to be coaching in the State of Origin series, which is just around the corner. So he'll want to go there and make a difference. They've lost the last 2 New South Wales, so he'll want to make a difference. I think he'll commit himself to New South Wales Rugby League for the next couple. So we won't see him back in clubland for at least a couple of seasons. Jason Riles is one.
I think he's a perfect person.
That comes to mind. So remembering right, he was offered the job at the Dragons, right?
Yeah.
And instead of taking that job, he chose to go to Melbourne, back to Melbourne Storm as an assistant. He was currently at the Roosters as an assistant. And I think he was thinking, well, this is going to be Bellamy's last season. We've since learnt over the last fortnight that Bellamy's going to coach on for another year into 2025. He just keeps coaching. It's just another. Mate. It's a Wayne Bennett.
Seriously.
2.0.
Oh, mate, they're the best.
So maybe Jason Riles is now contacted by Parramatta and sort of sought out and asked the question, like, is this something that you'd like to do? I don't know. Like, there's many guys out there that have started their apprenticeship as assistant coaches. Like Josh Henne's one at the Sharks at the moment, who's doing a great job. He's an assistant coach with the Queensland Maroons, and I know Billy Slater's got a huge rap on Josh Henne and his ability as a coach. So much so, like he relies heavily on his work within the team and putting a lot of structure around the way that the Queensland team plays their football. And it's the reason why he's got him in camp with him, because he's very good at the day-to-day clubland stuff.
Yeah, okay.
So I think he'd be certainly someone ready to go. Justin Holbrook, who's just moved from the Gold Coast Titans, who's now a reserve grade coach at the Roosters with Trent Robinson. He's another guy as well. So, look, there's guys out there. There's guys out there that would love to be a head coach of an NRL side. It's just whether they fit the mould that the Parramatta Eels are after.
Yeah, it's I think Riles is a man for the job. I think that the problem with Justin Holbrook, and look, I'm sure their coaching styles are a little bit different, but he does seem like a similar-ish coach to Brad Arthur, where it is a very player first. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure he's a tough coach, but I guess the concern at the Titans when he was there was was he tough enough on the players? And I guess you could argue with Brad Arthur, was he tough enough on the players to get to that next step? I don't know, but that was the question that was asked. Wayne Bennett agrees to a $3 million 3-year deal. South Sydney club confirmed yesterday. Bennett was privately pursued by the Eels, obviously, but he decided to go. The chair actually said they always felt behind the eight ball. Bennett has said he plans to return current interim coach Ben Hornby as one of his assistants. When asked about a potential return of Burgess to the club, Bennett said, Sam is doing a great job at Warrington and he needs that time and space over there to do that. We'll see what the future holds. He's a damn good person. On a potential raid on Dolphins players, Bennett said, I didn't set around building this club to try and destroy it. What do you reckon, Smithy?
Well, it's interesting. He's got a history of taking a few players with him.
Yeah.
Just to help him along his way. So we'll just wait and see. Look, let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's I think most of the players at the Dolphins are locked into sort of longish deals, particularly the younger boys. So he won't be able to take any straight up unless they break their contract. But, this is big news for Rabbitohs fans. I'm sure they would be absolutely cheering to hear the news that Wayne Bennett has confirmed that he's going to sign on for 3 years. And I know that they all love Wayne Bennett. They loved his time at the club only a few years ago. So, I think it's a lot of people are excited. I've actually spoken to a couple of Rabbitohs fans over the last 24 hours and they said, like, we're pumped. Like, we can't wait. So everyone knows, and we mentioned this earlier, mate, like, everyone knows what he can do to a football club, not just the players and get them up and about. But he's great for the business. He's great for the organisation. Brings a lot of eyeballs to the particular football club that he's involved with, and he finds a way to get them playing their best football and playing for each other and playing for their jersey. And it's something that we haven't seen from the Rabbitohs since round 11 last year.
Yeah, it's. I wonder. I would love to know what's the tactic he's going to use heading back into that dressing room. Because, there could be a sense of the Rabbitohs boys going, old mate Wayne's back. We love him. And Wayne is known for when you think he's going to go left, he goes right. The amount of times where...
Every time.
Mate, the amount of times we would have a great win, we'd walk into after a game and he'd give us a spray and we'd be going, what the hell? And then the other times we get towed up and he'd come in and he'd be like, yeah, boys, let's get on the beers. You're just like, what? I mean, obviously not him on the beers, but the boys get on the beers. So I would love to know, is he going to go in there with a broom through the joint? Is he going to, it's going to be interesting to see. I think that we'll be quite surprised at the tactic he takes when he does head in, because I don't think it's as simple as in walk back in, plug and play, boys, we're all back. Let's get back to, challenging for premierships. I think there's going to be a bit of teething there for at least 12 months.
Yeah, I think he'll go back in there and, look, he's not going to go in there with the broom and sweep the whole joint out.
Yeah.
I think he'll be confident with, the most part of, that squad at the moment. And sure, he's going to make some changes, to suit, the style of football and the team that he wants to have operating week to week. But I reckon he'll have some honest conversations.
Yeah.
That's what I reckon he'll do. And that's I think one of his greatest qualities is that there's no grey area with him.
Yeah.
When you're playing in his football side, it's exactly where you are as a player and what's expected of you. So I think that's what he'll bring to that footy club first and foremost, is that he'll get everyone to sit down when he arrives back at Bunny's headquarters and say, hey, listen, this is the situation. The last season and a half, boys, have not been good. You've been well below par, well below standards, and this football club it expects more from its players. Mate. And this is the way we're going to improve. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it, and we do it all together.
Yeah, I cannot wait. I cannot wait to see him back at the Rabbitohs. Mitch Moses will miss Parra's clash against South Sydney, meaning he would not play a game before Origin is selected. It's thrown a massive spanner in the work. It looks like Hines, you never know what's going to happen, but it looks like Hines has that 7 jersey locked down. I mean, he's leading the Dally M's. His team's on top of the comp. So you would assume he gets that 7 jersey. First of all, I'd like to ask you, Smithy, are my assumptions correct or incorrect? And who do you partner with him?
Well, I'm of the same opinion. Like, he's got to be picked. Like, his team's running first on the competition ladder. He played another great game on the weekend. I know he's missed a few games through injury, but for the games that he's played extremely well. What he has played is ultra consistent, and that's what you need at Origin level. So, look, if they don't pick him, Kempy, if they don't pick him for this first game, given that Nathan Cleary is out, if they don't pick him for game 1, I don't think he plays for New South Wales ever again.
Yep, agreed.
That's my opinion based on how well he's playing at the moment, and the huge part that he's played in his team running first on the ladder, and the situation that New South Wales finds them in the half situation.
Yeah.
Particularly with Nathan Cleary, their first choice halfback being injured and ruled out of the series. So if he doesn't get a start now with a number 7 or number 6 on his back, I don't see how he gets a start in the New South Wales side for the rest of his career. It has to be. It's now or never. It's now or never. Who partners him? I'm not too. I'll tell you what. Well, I think it's going to be Luai.
Okay.
There's the other options there. The obvious choices are Burton, Walker, of course, as well. Keary's been tossed up, but I don't think they'll go for Luke Keary. Mitch Moses, but you can't pick Mitch Moses. You just can't do it.
Yeah,
you just cannot do it. That is a huge risk.
Yeah.
Now, as professional as Mitch Moses is, and I spoke to him actually at Magic Round. He was up there watching the Eels play. And he looks fit. He looks fit. But he did say, like, there's so much uncertainty around that foot injury that he has. Like, it feels good one day, and then the next day it aches, and he can't even walk on it, let alone run. So he said he was going to try and do some running this week. Obviously, he's not ready to play. So I just think that's got to be a line through his name straight away. Yeah. Like, he hasn't played for 2 months.
He hasn't even run yet, you just said. Like, he's just going to try running this week.
Yeah, like, it's just like that is a huge risk. Putting someone in, I know he's played there before. I know he's played in big games. And like I said, like, he looks like he's kept himself in good condition. But to not play a single game of football in 8 weeks and then be asked to go out and play the biggest game of the year, which is going to be State of Origin 1, that's a big ask for Mitch, and it's a huge risk for the New South Wales footy team. So I think you just put a line through his name straight away.
Yep.
I don't think he'll be there. Burton, look, he's a wonderful athlete, but has he got enough creativity in him, to help that footy side? I don't think so. I think they're going to go with Luai.
Okay.
That's my prediction. It's going to be Luai at 6, and it'll be Nico Hines at 7.
See, I reckon now another positive for Luai being 6 is that he would then link up with Critter, To'o. So you would have defensively.
Yep. You've
worked together. Now, I guess the knock against that, and the reason why I personally would go Burton is because of his big kicking game. And I think the DCE's long kicking game, not his mid to short, whereas I think Cleary can match DCE in his mid to short. But I think Cleary's long kicking game has been a huge deciding factor in the series. And I think Burton's big boot plus his physicality might be enough to get him that jersey. On top of that, the way Hines plays, I question, obviously he needs a 6 that can help him at times, but he's so on the ball all the time. Can he pick up the slack for the lack of creativity with Burton? I'm not sure. Just an opinion, but that's probably where I'd go.
Well, that's why I was thinking Luai, because like he's a dangerous attacker.
Yeah,
he's a dangerous attacker. He showed that on the weekend against the Warriors. I know the Panthers were beaten, but I thought he had a pretty good game individually. He looked pretty sharp. Like, he's looked quite sharp for the most part of the year on his feet. Like, he's beaten a lot of tackles, and look, he's got a kicking game as well. Like, let's not forget. Like, he does a lot of, like, most of his kicks are sort of inside opposition half with, he goes like down short sides or close to the line, like rolling in grubbers. But Nico Hines has got a big boot, mate.
Yep. Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, I think if you're thinking that you're lacking someone with kicking ability, I think that's, like, Nico Hines does pretty much majority of the kicking for the Sharks. He does all their high kicking. He does all their long kicking. He's a goal kicker himself with a pretty good percentage. So I think he ticks all of those boxes.
Okay.
So that's why I just feel that, Luai's got the experience.
Yep.
And he's got that ability with the football to create as well, which will help Hines.
What about Cody Walker?
Well, look, he's the other player, right? He's the other player that certainly could be selected. There's no doubt about that. But again, it's a little bit like Mitch Moses, right? Although Walker's been playing, I just don't think he's in great form. I really don't think he's in great form at the moment, and that's a big step up from how he's performing at the moment for the Rabbitohs. Now, I know he's not. He's playing. He's also playing in a footy side not playing well. But you got to remember, he is the half of that footy side. That's part of his role, is to get that team going. Now, the form that he's shown over the last little bit, and there's been a slight improvement, right? There's been a slight improvement over the last fortnight. I will give Cody that, and as well as the Rabbitohs footy side. But it's a big step up, mate. It's a big step up from what he's been producing at Clubland to all of a sudden ask him to come and play, the best game of his season in game 1. There's no doubt he's got the ability.
Yep.
Well, he's done it before. He got man of the match in game 3 last year.
Yeah.
Where he was incredible, like linking with Bradman Best on that left-hand side, and he set up a couple of tries, and he was really good. But again, I just think that given the results for New South Wales over the past couple of seasons. I just think, particularly for game one, Michael Maguire is going to go with guys playing in footy sides that are travelling pretty good.
Yeah.
So and that's why I say Nico, who's playing at the Sharks, who's leading the comp at the moment, and then Luai at Penrith, who are just been playing like Penrith do every year.
Yeah. Do you think there's a concern with Luai being 6 that his centre doesn't get as much ball as, say, if Cody Walker is? And because you look at the New South Wales centres, and they are strike weapons. Like they're, you're probably going to have Ramey in there or Stag. Oh, Stag just broke his ribs. Probably going to have Critter on the other edge. And I know he's played with Critter, but there is a tendency for...
Is Bradman fit?
No, his hammy is gone.
Gone. Ruled out. Okay.
And so there is a tendency for Luai to constantly step back inside.
Yep.
I guess that would be...
He loves doing that, doesn't he, Kenny?
Yeah.
He loves that left foot.
Yeah.
But I think, as part of the role as coach, to say, mate, look, your left foot is a weapon, but we need you to... We got these blokes here that their weapon is getting the ball and taking on the opposition centre, man on man. So if you can, let's try and give them some footy.
What about the physicality that Burton does bring? I think he's got a better defensive tackle efficiency than Walker and Luai. Do you think that could be in his favour at all? Michael Maguire known as quite a tough...
Yeah, no, mate, possibly. See, that's the decision as a coach you got to make. Am I taking a team into game one that's defensively minded, and I'm just going to have one man in my halves that really just going to try and run the show by himself, and the other bloke there, I just need a solid defender that I know is going to make his tackles.
Yeah,
maybe that is the mindset that Madge will take into this game. For mine, though, I think the balance between Luai and Hines fits. I just from a Queensland point of view, if I look across the field and I look at Burton or I look at Luai, I know the guy that I'm most fearful of if I'm defending. It's going to be Luai.
Munster underwent scans on Monday afternoon on the groin problem he aggravated in the club's win over Para. Suncorp Stadium on Sunday. It's understood Munster will need surgery at some point to repair the damage which is related to an issue with his hip. But that would sideline him for up to 3 months and potentially end his season. As a result, Storm have elected to rest Munster for 8 to 10 weeks in hope that he can return for finals. First of all, from a Storm perspective and a Munster perspective, your thoughts, Smithy?
Yeah, well, that's a big blow, isn't it? They because they're travelling along quite well, moving up into second spot on the ladder, and just winning games. Probably not playing their best footy, but they're finding ways to win. Certainly, you had a convincing victory on the weekend against Parramatta, but that's a huge blow for the Storm moving forward, isn't it? Just he's a big game player, and look, with all due respect to him, he hasn't been at his best, and it's because of this groin injury. You could see that he's been hampered, right?
Yeah.
He just hasn't been able to open up the way he has in the past, and we've seen that. But he has come up with some brilliant plays to help the Storm get out of some tricky situations this year where it's been sort of close at the end of matches, and he's come up with just those monster plays that he seems to be able to come up with to find points or create opportunities for his team that eventually go on and turn into points. So that's a big blow for Melbourne. But I guess in the near future, the talk is more around the Queensland side and what effect that has on who plays number 6, plays 5'8". So similar situation to New South Wales where, I think there's a lock on one half, which is going to be DCE, but who's going to partner him in that number 6 jersey? Tom Dearden, of course, from North Queensland Cowboys. Ezra Mam has been spoken about as well with his form at the Broncos. For mine, I think it's pretty straightforward for me. I'm Tom Dearden every day of the week.
Yeah.
And look, I haven't spoken to anyone involved in the Queensland side, particularly Billy, about this position or this situation that they now find themselves in, given what happened to Munster on the weekend. My initial thought, as soon as Munster went down, was that Tom Dearden is the natural player that you put straight into that number 6 jersey for Queensland.
Just quickly, before we move on to who should take the 6 jersey, I would love to know, obviously the physios and the doctors and everything at the Storm would have weighed and calculated, but I'd love to know, was this injury because he was playing with something that they didn't know really what was going on with it? Could have they elected to rest him initially? Could have they got the surgery before the season started and had him ready for maybe late in the year? I would love to know if there was an opportunity for them in the off-season to have the surgery.
Yeah, well, I don't know what that situation was, Kempy. I've spoken to Cam Munster several times, going back to the start of the year, and also Craig Bellamy and a couple of other people involved with the Melbourne Storm, and I think they've really just tried to manage what's been going on with his groin or hip that we're hearing about now. I think that they felt like they could get him through, sort of nurse him through the season, and he was going to be able to play some footy. I think he knew, like he come out when he first played, right? It was at round 5, something like that. How he said, "Look, I'm not going to be 100%, but if I can maintain sort of 75, 80% fitness for the most part of the year, then I'll be happy with that, and we'll soldier through the season. It's going to be a challenge, but we'll get through it." Unfortunately, he succumbed to that on the weekend. Now, again, I don't think he was like feeling his best leading into that match, but they were down on troops, and I think he was keen to play. So he's obviously gone out there and aggravated it. And look, the results aren't great. They've just got to try and get him back. In the hope that after the next 8 or 10 weeks, that they're still in a good position on the ladder, and that that's going to be round 21, something like that. Well, let's just circle round 20 of the competition in 10 weeks' time. That that he's feeling pretty good, and that he's able to finish off the season. That leaves another 7. It's about another 10 or 11 weeks if they're to go all the way to the grand final that he'll have to get through.
Because my next question is that do they bite the bullet now and just get the surgery? Because I guess. That's mate, it's much of a muchness, isn't it? Really, because you're looking at 10 weeks compared to
10
12
weeks already.
Yeah,
and you'd think the only thing with that is, like, if they feel confident that, like, okay, let's give him rest and rehab him, right? And hopefully he'll be able to get back and play in 2 months' time, right? Compared to, let's have surgery. If they have surgery, right, like if it all goes well, like everything goes well, there's no hiccups, it's 12 weeks minimum.
Yeah, okay.
Now, if there is some complications with it all,
it's season.
And you sort of, there's many occasions where people have surgeries and then there's complications with, say, infection and all sorts of different things that can arise from opening you up and whatever. That could cost him the rest of the season. So I think they're looking at it from a point of view like, okay, right, we know if we rest him up now, rehab him, get him to a point where he can get back out in the paddock and manage him through those last, 8 to 10 weeks of the season, and he's there, I think that's our better option. And then whatever week it is, whatever game it is, we play our last game, we book him straight in, and he's ready to go for 25.
And then you're looking at it like as well, the rehab, as in the fitness and conditioning we can do without the surgery is going to be substantially better than if he goes under the knife, which would mean I'd assume he'd be off his feet for at least a few weeks, whereas now without the surgery, he's going to be probably on his feet within a week or two, maybe even a week.
Yeah, that's right. I think the way it sort of works now is that, like, he'd have to rest significantly. Like, he won't be able to be on his feet, not too much weight and all sort of movement and all that sort of stuff, but he'll be doing some alternate sort of training to keep himself going.
The worst kind.
Yeah. Seated rowers, boxing, all that rubbish.
PTSD, can't Smithy. Oh, no.
But yeah, like, you're right. I think, with surgery, I think, mate, it's at least a month.
Yeah.
A month to maybe 6 weeks where he couldn't really, he wouldn't even look like being able to get on his legs and do any type of training or conditioning or any sort like that. So they've obviously waited up and consulted, Cameron about it and said, look, these are our options. We can go in, we can go, let's go get it fixed right now. But that best case, it's 3 months.
Yep.
Worst case, it's the year. Or, hey, let's just get back to our rehabilitation program that we started at the start of the year, which, got you back out in the paddock and you were playing some pretty good footy. We can do that for the next couple of months and, you'll be back playing in the back half of the year.
Yeah, because I just thought it'd be good for the audience to kind of hear the thought process that does go into these kind of decisions, because it's not as straightforward as, a lot of us believe, there's so much thought that goes into this with highly paid professionals that weigh up, potential this, potential that. So now, in regards to his replacement, I look, what I've been a little bit surprised at the amount of people that have said Ezra Mam. And look, I'm a Ezra Mam for me. He is an absolute live wire, incredible player. But I feel like it would almost be, who am I to speak on what is Queensland and what isn't, but almost un-Queenslander-like to have a guy like Dearden in the system for the last few years.
Yeah.
And then just out of nowhere go, actually, you're not the next man up. It's actually Ezra Mam. I think Queensland have always done a really good job of going, we're going to bring someone in, you're the next man up. Even if your club footy's not going that well, you were selected then for a reason. And when the opportunity arises, you will be brought in. And I think it teaches potential, people coming into Queensland that you've got to earn the jersey and you're not going to be left out in the cold. And, you're a part of Queensland just as much as the next bloke. Do you think that also kind of plays into the decision with Dearden coming in, if he does come in?
Yeah, I think so. Look, there's no doubt that'll be in the back of the mind of Billy and the selectors, G. Miles and Darren Lockyer, that, he's been there in the past and done a great job. He was part of the decider in 2022, I think it was, when he come in. He actually replaced Munster. Munster contracted COVID for that game, and Tommy Dearden come in and played a wonderful game of football. A wonderful game of football, a really important role that he played for the footy side that night, which ended up getting the Shield back to Queensland. But look, I just think the style of footy that he plays, he's a tough half. He loves defending. He's a great defender, and the commitment and the resilience that he plays with is just outstanding. Now I know, like, his club team, they haven't been in the best form over the last month in particular, month to 6 weeks, but they started the year on fire. He was a huge part of it, but I haven't seen his individual form drop a whole heap in the period where Cowboys have struggled. Like, he still turns up and delivers similar performances. Yeah. And where I've been really impressed with the way he's played in a struggling footy side, Kempy, is those little small areas where he just does those really small parts of the game, the crucial parts of the game, really, really well. Yeah. Like, and case in point, like, the biggest one to me that stands out was when they took on the Broncos at Suncorp Stadium. Selwyn Cobbo made a line break down the left-hand side. Like, it was pretty much everyone at the ground thought, shut the gates. Yeah. Selwyn's going to score here. But Tommy didn't. He didn't think that. He come racing from the other side of the field, mowed him down and tackled him and saved a try. So, like, they're the type of players and they're the type of plays in a game of football that's needed at Origin level, because you just don't know. You just don't know. Like, it could be, scores could be level in game one, and, let's say, someone from the New South Wales, an outside back like a Stephen Crichton, like, let's just say he makes a break, a lot like Daly Cherry Evans did to Stephen Crichton. Yeah, absolutely. Last series, right? You just don't know. Like, you need guys that you can rely on and depend on and trust are going to turn up in those positions and at those times when your team needs you most.
Yeah, I actually tried to erase that tackle from Dearden on Cobbo out of my mind, so thanks for bringing that back up, mates. Now, in regards to other positions, I do think that Cobbo is played so well this year. Now, he's still got errors in his game that needs to clean up. But I do think there is a question on maybe that wing spot with Taulagi. Now, Taulagi has come out himself and said he's probably not playing his best footy. Do you think there's a possibility that Cobbo squeezes into this side, or do you think Billy will be not necessarily loyal? Because, we spoke to Billy last year. He's about putting the best team on the park to win the series. Yep. Do you think he stays with the incumbent, though?
Well, I think it's in the back of his mind, right, when he's making these decisions. But at the same time, he needs to pick the people that he can, I just spoke about this, that he can trust are going to go out and do the right thing for the football side and that are in good form at the moment. The ones that have earned the right to pull on the Queensland jersey and go out there and play and represent Queensland in game one. Now, I know those guys have done that in the past, but someone like a Selwyn Cobbo, mate, he has done himself every chance to play Origin in game one. He could even play in the centres. Yeah. Like, when you're talking about, like, Murray Taulagi, like, you look at sort of someone like a Val Holmes, who's been there many, many times in the past. Like, I think he would admit that he's not in the best form at the moment either.
Absolutely.
So, does someone like a Selwyn Cobbo get a centre spot? Because he's playing outstanding football at the moment in the centres. And he's a big physical thing. He loves running the football. He doesn't mind getting amongst it defensively either. It'll all be about the makeup of the footy side and what's going to best serve Queensland, which will depend on what those outside backs look like.
I tell you what, if I'm New South Wales, a back three of Coates, Walsh, Cobbo is like nightmare stuff. Is genuine nightmare stuff. The kick return's like, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
What's happening in this kick return? I don't know. Yeah, and look, I spoke about this on my show as well. To be fair, in Taulungi's defence, he's been, I believe, Queensland's most underrated player in the last two series. The try-saving tackles he did in Game 1 last year won the series for Queensland, literally.
Yeah, well, you know what, mate, and I was going to mention that too. So, and those two guys I just mentioned, Murray Taulungi and Val Holmes, they come up with massive plays in the context of results throughout the series last year. And look, they weren't the flashy plays. They weren't any of the big the tries like a Lindsay Collins leaping above Tedesco or flighting to Cam Munster, like that type of stuff, or Munster fending off three people, going down the sideline, giving it to the hammer scoring. Like they were plays like diving on a loose ball.
Yeah.
Murray Taulungi come up with two try savers, as you mentioned, like holding up players that usually, in those situations, they score tries, but somehow managed to get some sort of his body underneath the football to prevent New South Wales from scoring. So that stuff's not forgotten.
Yeah.
Like, trust me, that's not forgotten on the coach and selectors, and what these players have done in the past. Now, they may not be playing their absolute best footy at the moment, but that's always going to be in the back of mind of the coaches that, hey, like these blokes they've produced for Queensland in the past.
Oh, man, Origin is nearly here. Selections this Sunday. Okay, just quickly before we head to a break, Smokey from each side that you think not necessarily be selected, but Smokey is in, people may be a bit surprised that they're in the squad.
For both teams?
Both teams.
Okay, let's start with Queensland first. Corey Jensen.
Mate, I love that. When you said that last week, I was like, that is so true. And so, I mean, him on the weekend was phenomenal. 200-plus metres in 48 minutes or something.
Yep, Corey Jensen, I reckon, could be a real smoky.
Yep.
If he's not in the 17, he may be in the squad. That's a real smoky for mine. For New South, I'm just trying to think. Let me have a think. Who would your Queensland smoky be?
Well, my Queensland smoky would be similar to Jensen. I think also, obviously, Hopgood. I think Sewell will be there or thereabouts. So, yeah, I think those kind of players will be there. I think Sam Walker may find himself in the squad, in the squad.
Wow.
In regards to New South Wales, my smoky was Connor Watson. I really thought he'd get that 14 jersey. Now
he's gone now.
He's gone now, which actually, we did as I said, we did our team selection yesterday, and it's thrown into complete disarray, the selection that we made. But anyway, you'll see that when you see the selection. So Connor Watson was going to be my smoky. Outside of that, I think a guy like Brayley could potentially land in there, the fact he can play 80. What about you, New South Wales?
Oh, geez. Yeah, no, I think Connor Watson would have been mine as well. Yeah, but he picked up a throat injury, didn't he?
Yeah,
throat injury is going to rule him out. But, man, I don't know. I've been so caught up on this whole sort of. I've been thinking about the half situation.
Yep.
I haven't even been thinking smokies. What about yours from the other day? No, I'm going to give you one. Cam McInnes.
Mate, I think he's a lock now.
There you go.
I reckon he's
you've got him as a lock, eh?
As in locked in.
No, a locked in. Yeah.
I've got him locked in. I think I think he'd be crazy if he's not in that 17.
All right, you've got him as a lock for the side, right? I'm gonna have him as a schmoky. Then.
And I'll tell you what, I'll speak to you off air, Smithy. But there's actually a bombshell selection that I made in my in my New South Wales team. You can't release it yet, and I can't release it yet. But it's a bombshell, all right. I'll speak to you off air. We'll see you on the other side of the break. I've just told Smithy my thoughts, and he said, "Kempy, you're a genius." He said, "Kempy, you're a genius."
I'll tell you what, guys. Check out the team drop later tonight. It will raise some eyebrows, I guarantee you. Oh, I nearly fell off my chair. But in a strange way, it does make a little bit of sense.
Okay, I like that.
That's all I'm going to say.
All righty. Desi has blown up at the refs in the bunker after the Brian Kelly try. And Annesley has also responded. We've got the audio here.
Des, Brian Kelly, try or no try?
Try, yeah. Every day of the week, yeah.
Frustrated then?
It's crazy. He never came away from the ball, and if it did, then it's a penalty, 1-on-1 strip, isn't it? They don't know. They don't know.
Do you try to seek clarity on that Brian Kelly call, or is there no point?
Oh, it'd be the same clarity, yeah. We got it wrong. Oh, we're sorry. Let's move on.
There you go. Now, we've also got a response from Annesley.
We'll make mistakes.
No amount of emotion is going to turn what's not a try into a try. These things get examined minutely, and they have to be examined minutely because that's how everyone else examines the game. You know, for this to be called a howler, or somehow that the Titans were, robbed of this decision. I mean, and I hate using that word because no one's out there trying to rob anybody. This is a decision made by the bunker based on the information that they had available.
Yeah, look, I understand, his idea of people that are saying Titans got robbed. I don't think that's craziness. They didn't score a point in the second half and had 1 million points gone on them. What I am a little bit confused at is it was sent up as a try. And what I don't understand is you're telling me there was enough evidence to definitively say that ball didn't leave his hand and it wasn't a try. That's, I guess, my most confused point. Now, if it was set up as no try,
You could understand it?
you could understand it. Like, you could totally understand it. But that was my most confused bit. It was actually set up as a try. And as we know, guys, the rule was changed at the start of the year that a try can be scored as long as the ball stays in touch with a hand all the way down to the try line. So even if it looks like, for example, a few weeks ago when Philip Sammy scored and it looked mental, we're all going for 100 years, that's not a try. Well, the new rule that was implemented was as long as it stays in contact with the hand, it's a try. What were your thoughts on the situation, Smithy?
Well, mate, I was actually getting ready for some commentary. I was doing some pre-game stuff, so I didn't get a really, really close look at it. But I know there was a little bit of grey area in the movement in trying to score the try. I actually felt as though he lost the ball before he even got to the try line. So I actually thought there was an error before he even got to the white stripe. That was my initial thought. That was my initial thought. I didn't really give it too much sort of attention afterwards, and I haven't really gone back and looked at it closely because I just, from first glance, I had a look and I said, oh, I think that's a knock on. So, but yeah, I think it's difficult, isn't it? Like we're it's a double-edged sword, right? Because we're like, mate, let's bring in this technology. I think it's going to make the game even better, maybe faster, blah, 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 blah. But now, and then we get it, and then at the same time we criticize it. Like, why is it so slow? Like, we're breaking it down. We don't play the game in slow-mo. And, yeah, well, that's the decision made. I do understand where you're coming from, though, mate, where you say a try was awarded. Now, as the rules are stated, like, it's got to be definitive evidence to overturn either way.
Yeah.
Whether to go no try turns it into a try or try turns into no try. This time it was awarded try and then the bunker overturned the decision. It looked touch and go, but yeah, from my point of view, I actually thought that he lost control of the footy even before he got to the try line. And that's just where it was for me. I didn't really think too much of it until post, like later that night or even the next morning, I heard that Desi had a big blow up in the Sheds post game. So,
look, mate, I agree in regards to, look, if you don't have any outside of try and no try, to me that's a knock on, and it's been a knock on for 100 years. I guess, for example, how many times do we see there's a captain's challenge of a player has put his hand out to touch a ball like that's been passed past him? And you can see the ball change trajectory and you can see the finger move just a little bit. But the bunker will say there's not enough evidence to overturn the on-field call. And so that to me is where I would be frustrated if I'm the Titans, is going like, well, hang on a sec. Like, you're telling me there's definitive evidence that was knocked on and that was that left his hand and blah, blah, blah. So I can get the frustration. But yeah, I agree with you, mate. Like, taking all out of consideration, to me, it was definitely a knock-on. Like, it's I would have no issue with it being a knock-on. I do think as well, it might have been a bit of build-up from Desi. He did get a tough call against the Raiders a few weeks ago where, they brought in a new rule to say that they could video ref drop goals. The first opportunity they get to use it, they don't use it.
Yep.
So that's the great Desi Hasler blow-up. So we'll head to... Sorry?
No, I was just going to say it, mate. It's always a build-up of something, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not that the coaches don't lose their cool over one little thing. It's always something that's happened in the couple of weeks prior, or they've been given what they think is like some dud calls week on week on week, and then it just explodes. There's one match where it just explodes. They've had enough, and that was Desi the other night.
Yeah, we just got a text in. Kempy, no matter the rule change, if he loses control, which he did, it is a knock-on because it's a contact with a Knights player. But I agree with you. I do think it's a knock-on. But what I'm saying what I'm saying is, it was sent up as a try. Are you telling me that can, without a doubt, definitively tell you that he lost control? I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can.